What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video of the Point After podcast. Today we're going to be discussing the Georgia Bulldogs 2022 season, the defending national champions. I don't have too much to talk about in this video. I mean, I could go on and on about the 30 different recruits they brought in, the number 3 recruiting class, how they won the national championship last year, Stetson Bennett's back, yada, yada, yada. Most of you, if you're watching this video, you have the highest expectations. There's not a lot to cover. Georgia's going to be great. Georgia can make the playoffs. Georgia can win the SEC. Georgia can win the national championship. I'm going to break more down of how I think this season is going to go and why you shouldn't expect a 12-0 season. For starters, just some just some standard little stuff to throw out there. So to back up my points just a little bit, they're 85th in returning production, which isn't great, but I mean, when you lose as much as you did, I mean, I don't even know how many players they had drafted off of just the defense alone last year. That's absolutely incredible. And why they won the national championship last season. I think Georgia this year is a similar situation to Alabama in 2021, coming off the 2020 season, where they were, as Nick Saban said, in a rebuilding year. Now, you say they won the SEC championship, they lost in the national championship. How is that a rebuilding year? Look at what they had to replace. Georgia's in a rebuilding year this year, too. It may not seem like it, but when you're bringing in 30 guys in a recruiting class all on scholarship, you're in a rebuilding year. I don't care if you still can compete for the national championship. You are rebuilding. McIntosh and Milton will man the backfield. There was another name that got mentioned that was an eye-opener this summer and in the fall camp where we're at currently. To keep an eye on, but McIntosh and Milton, I believe, will get the majority of the work there from the Georgia backfield. Stetson Bennett's back for his 7th year of football. I don't know how the hell he pulled that off. But yeah, 7th year of football for Stetson Bennett. My question is, if Stetson Bennett struggles, doesn't play great, do you go with Carson Beck? Do you go with Brock Vandegrift? Do you bring in the freshman that you just got? Is it possible that Georgia could be even better with one of those guys at the helm? Now, don't get me wrong. Stetson Bennett's really good. He proved that last season. Took him 12-0. Took him to the SEC championship. He was the MVP in the Orange Bowl against Michigan, and then he won the national championship. So is Stetson Bennett great? Yes. Is he a really good player? Yes. You know who else was a really good player? Jake Coker. Same situation here. Would Georgia be better with Carson Beck or Vandegrift or Gunnar Stockton? Possibly, but we may not ever get to see that. Like I said, this is all – Georgia could still play for the national championship this year, could win the national championship this year. They could go back-to-back. It would not surprise me. I'm just saying that there is a possibility out there that Georgia could be better with one of their backup quarterbacks at the helm instead of Stetson Bennett. That's no hate to Stetson Bennett, but – just comparing, apples to apples here, there's some obvious differences in the quarterback play styles. Brock Bowers will be the leading receiver, playing tight end. Arik Gilbert is a guy that's playing wide receiver and tight end mix. I think he'll be the number 2 behind Brock. Now, Brock may not lead the team in receptions or yards because he does play tight end, but in terms of just immediate impact and overall impact that that offense has, Brock Bowers is going to be your guy. And then lastly, on offense, you return 3 of your 5 offensive linemen. Defensively, you have Keely Ringo back. You have 3 of your inside linebackers that were drafted that you're going to have to replace. You have a couple guys on D-line that are coming back that gives you some experience, but also just some leadership and some guys that know what it takes to be 12-0 in the SEC. So defensively, I think you can see some struggles in the beginning just because, again, how many people they have to replace. Especially when your heart and soul of the defense, your captain, majority of the time is at that linebacker position. So the offense to me is going to be 10 times better than it was last year, mostly because of that tight end and running back position. Defensively, you're going to struggle off the start, which I'll talk about in just a second. But after that, you can expect a clear and easy season for Georgia. Now look at their schedule, and they get put up really quick. You start off with Oregon in Atlanta. That's a home game. Georgia is going to win this game. I'm telling you right now, I think the spread's 17, something like that. So I think the final score will be a lot closer than what the game truly is. I think Oregon can keep it close in the first quarter, maybe keep it close in the not keep it close in the fourth, but score some late touchdowns to make this game not seem not as bad. That's my anticipation for that game. Georgia's going to win it. I'm not even going to contemplate on Oregon winning it. Georgia's got that one in the bag, just like they do most of this schedule, but Oregon could keep it close. Stanford's a win. South Carolina, some people will write that as a trap game because early in the season it's at South Carolina. South Carolina's going to come out, or going to have to come out firing on all cylinders the first 2 weeks of the season for me to even consider that a trap game. But I'll cover that on September 12th when the time comes. So if you want the game preview on that, hit that subscribe button. I think we're only 2 away from 100, so I'd really appreciate it. Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, all those games should be win. You go down to Jacksonville where they can actually host recruits this year, which Kirby made a big deal about when you play Florida. So that'll be something new for that game. I still think Georgia wins that one pretty easily. Now, where my trap game comes into play is the Tennessee game. Because of where this falls in the season, this is 3 weeks after Tennessee plays Alabama. I think they have a bye week in there. Don't quote me on that. You're coming off one of your toughest games of the year at Florida. Now, I'm not saying that as in like Florida is one of the best teams you'll play. I'm saying that as in just the environment. It's a rivalry game, all that good stuff. This Tennessee game scares me for 2 reasons because one or two things are going to happen. One, Tennessee's going to come into that with absolutely nothing to lose. They're going to be like losses to Pitt, losses to Alabama, losses to who else do they play at that time? I think they've played Kentucky by that point. So, again, Tennessee could come in with nothing to lose, already have 2 or 3 losses on their schedule, and give you everything they have. Or they could come in with everything to lose, riding that wave, trying to get to the SEC championship game for a rematch against Alabama, most would presume. So Tennessee could be scary. Mississippi State's a win. Mississippi State has one of the toughest schedules, and they're just not that great. Kentucky, another team that could be very scary because they're in the same situation as Tennessee. Kentucky's going to be good this year. I think Kentucky goes 8-4, 9-3, somewhere in there, maybe even 10-2. But they're going to come in there and give you everything they have with nothing to lose because they're expected to lose, or they're coming in there and they're going to upset you because they're playing for a chance at the SEC championship game. So, and then a win against Georgia Tech. So originally, the over-under on the win total for Georgia was set at 11.5. I was all over that under because you don't understand how hard it is to go 12-0, especially when you're playing in the SEC. Look back at most of Alabama's championship seasons. They lost a game. Look back just overall. Most teams did not go undefeated and win the national championship. That is it's very, very hard to do that. I don't think you understand. Like, I know there are some Georgia fans out here that are casuals. They're like, oh, Georgia just won the national championship. You know, we're coming back. We're going to win back-to-back. Like, great. That's all fine and dandy. But you don't understand how hard it is to go 12-0 and really go 24-0 in back-to-back seasons in college football or in the SEC in general. So I've got Georgia going 11-1. I'm not going to say they win the SEC championship game. I'm not going to say they don't. Just because I think Alabama and Georgia are truly 50-50 at this point. Do I think they made the college football playoffs? Absolutely. Do I think they made the college football playoff national championship? Absolutely. It's either them, Alabama, or it's Ohio State, and unfortunately them and Alabama are in the same conference. So there's my predictions on Georgia. Thank you guys for tuning in so much. Like I said, we're only like 2 subscribers away from 100, so if you guys could hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. We got game previews coming out next week. We got Nebraska and Northwestern. Nevada plays. I think I'm covering North Texas and UTEP. So keep your eyes open for that, guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow with, I think it's Texas A&M coming out or Florida State. And if there's somebody else you want me to cover, we got about a week. So put that in the comment section as well.